Thank you for joining us. You're watching a career success video from Computer Coach. Computer Coach is a Tampa-based computer training center specializing in helping IT and business professionals add on the skills they need to reach their desired career goals. If you are job searching, in transition, or are looking for guidance, please feel free to reach out to us at www.computercoach.com. Now, let's get started.
So it is my absolute pleasure to present today's speaker. Tracey Vanasco is going to talk to us about building resilience in our job search. So Tracey, thank you for being here on behalf of myself and everyone else on the call today. Very excited to learn and grow with your great information today. So I'm going to turn the presentation over to you and let you take over.
Awesome. Thank you. So glad to be here. I'm going to share my screen. So hi to my friends that have joined, even my family that has joined. Thanks for supporting me today, and welcome to everyone else. I hope that by the time this presentation is over, we're friends too, at the very least connected on LinkedIn. So as Suzanne said, my name is Tracey Vanasco, and I'm the managing partner for Small World HR. I partner with organizations who need to augment their HR and talent acquisition departments. But my real passion is working with individuals on job search optimization, career coaching, and of course, resilience coaching. I'm over here today channeling my inner Brene Brown. If you have not heard of her, do yourself a favor, look her up. She's a brilliant vulnerability researcher, like real research, like in a lab and stuff. Definitely check her out. But today I'm kind of channeling her and kind of emulating her TED Talks if I can. I don't know. I'm just doing my best. Anyway, I'm really glad that Suzanne has given us the opportunity today to talk about resilience, because most people think that you either have it or you don't. And I'm here to tell you that that's not true. So we're going to leave this talk today with an understanding of what resilience really is, and we'll have some action steps on how to cultivate it. And I hope we have a few laughs along the way. So I tried to include some humor and levity. If you can, grab a pen and paper. There's going to be a really small part of today that's going to be an exercise. If you don't have a pen and paper, no big deal. Don't stress over it. But if it's handy, just pull it out, and I'll tell you when you need it. Let's get started. I just want to bring you all back to March of 2020. Imagine it's a couple of days after your birthday. I'm not going to mention which one. And you're supposed to be on a family vacation that was canceled due to COVID. And you get a surprise call from your employer letting you know that you've been laid off again. And I say again because this isn't your first layoff or even your second or your third. It's the 6th layoff of your career. Here's the good news. That isn't your story. It's mine. Yep, it's true. I've been laid off 6 times in my career. Not always from a pandemic. That was a new one. But all has happened when I was working hard, performing well, and the company had to make really tough decisions. Nothing personal, Tracey. It's just business. And I tell you that story not for you to feel sorry for me, but so you know this presentation is coming from a place of love, sprinkled with a little bit of been there, done that, got the t-shirt and the bumper sticker and the keychain and whatever else comes with it. So as I talk to you about resilience today, please know that I learned this material by going through some tough experiences myself, and I'm still here to tell the tale. What is resilience? There are a few definitions. The Webster's dictionary definition is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. The APA definition is the one I resonate with the most, and it's probably the best for today's purposes. It's a long one, so bear with me. According to the APA, resilience is the process of adapting well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedy, threats, or significant sources of stress, such as family and relationship problems, serious health problems, or workplace and financial stressors. But what I want you to get out of today's presentation, and the most important thing for you to know about resilience, is that it's a muscle. So just as with all muscles, like The Rock, you can't even deny he's working those muscles, you guys. We need to exercise it in order for it to grow and become part of how we present in the world. The good news is we don't have to spend hours at the gym, and we don't have to come face to face with a major life stressor to get in a good resilience workout. Simply put, resilience is your ability to bend under pressure and not break. Some examples from our daily lives where we can practice bending and not breaking are really, adaptability kind of at its core. Getting stuck in traffic. You can't find your favorite pants that you want to wear for that interview. And speaking of that interview, about halfway through, you realize this isn't the best position for you. So how do you react to those situations? Do you cuss and holler at the cars around you? Do you throw a tantrum and kick the dryer because your favorite pants are still wet? Do you completely shut down on that interview and let the rest of that time go by without learning anything or making a new connection? And I sure hope not, especially after today's presentation, because that's letting one bad event take over your whole day. And for some situations, people get stuck in it for a week, a month, a year, however long it takes. So when we are encountering these situations, that's your chance to flex your resilience muscle. So turn up the music and rock out in the car. They're going to be late anyway. You might as well enjoy the time sitting in traffic. Call your friend, do whatever you can to make that time pass. You can find another pair of pants that are maybe your second favorite pair, or better yet, you could test the theory of interviewing without pants at all, but only if it's a virtual interview. Please don't show up at an in-person interview without pants. That would be very, very bad. I'm not advising that. But in that interview that you realize isn't a great match, you're honest with the interviewer that this probably isn't the best fit for you, but talk to them about what other opportunities you would be interested in so that they can keep an eye out for you, and then let them know that you're going to send referrals their way because you're connected with other people who are looking for a position like this. And definitely do that. Use it as an opportunity to network and connect with someone. In all of those situations, it's really about accepting what's in front of you and adapting. And the choice to exercise that muscle is always yours. The more you use it on the little stuff, the more prepared you're going to be for the big stuff. Let's switch gears for a minute, and I want to tell you another story. I do best at illustrating my points with stories, so here we go. This story has been passed down for generations, and I've heard a few different versions of it, but this one is my favorite. One day, a donkey wanders away from his owner and falls into a well. Side note, you guys, I found a picture of a donkey in a well on the internet. I never thought I would find that. I totally Googled it on a whim, and there it was. So there's a picture of a donkey in a well on the internet, among other things. So anyway, the donkey is pretty scared, and he's making a lot of noise, trying to get the farmer's attention while he's in that well. And the farmer finds his donkey, and he loves his donkey. So he's trying everything he can to get his donkey out of that hole. But the donkey is just too heavy. So the farmer has an idea. He gets a shovel and he begins to shovel dirt into the well. And if you're the donkey, you're pretty upset because you're thinking that the farmer is trying to bury you alive. Meanwhile, the farmer is talking with the donkey and encouraging him to shake off the dirt. So as the farmer keeps shoveling, the dirt is rising higher and higher, and the farmer says, "Come on, donkey, shake it off and step up." And after a while, the donkey realizes he's able to use the dirt to step up, and he keeps doing that until he reaches the top of the well and he can just step out and he's safe. I love this story, and there's a lot to unpack here, but we're gonna unpack just three things. Number one, sometimes you will have dirt shoveled onto your back. And the difference between being buried alive and being saved is how you choose to react to the dirt. The donkey could have laid down and just let the farmer bury him. The farmer had already tried everything he could to get this donkey out of the hole, and it was impossible. So the donkey could have just laid down and died. The second thing is getting into a better position can be uncomfortable at first. Life redirections can be scary. And the donkey was probably scared and feeling pretty hopeless in that hole, especially when he thought his beloved farmer was trying to kill him. And the third thing is that it pays to be like the donkey, or as I prefer to emulate, Taylor Swift, and just shake it off. And you guys know that you're reading these lyrics in your best Taylor Swift voice right now. I just want to take a moment here. This is where your pen and paper kind of comes into play. And I want you to think about and write down one event that you're working on shaking off right now. What is it that you need to shake off? Nothing fancy, just jot it down. We'll come back to it later, and we're not going to share it with the group, so you don't have to worry about that. This isn't the time to unpack your greatest life trauma. Just write down the one thing that could keep you up at night if you let it, okay? Ultimately, what we're talking about when we talk about resilience and with that donkey is a practice in mindset. Resilience isn't magic. It's about mindset. And I am super lucky because I've had lots of big opportunities in my life to practice resilience. Some of us have fewer opportunities, but that doesn't make it any less important. And the quote up on the screen here is from Napoleon Hill. When you close the door of your mind to negative thoughts, the door of opportunity opens to you. Napoleon Hill is also famous for saying, thoughts are things. And I want to take that a step further. Thoughts are things, and words are thoughts on steroids. So I recently read an article called Brave the Wave from a blog called Laboratory of Love. And the article says in 2005, the National Science Foundation published an article summarizing research on human thoughts per day. It found that the average person has about 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day. 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day. Of those thousands of thoughts, 80% were negative, and 95% were exactly the same repetitive thoughts as the day before. They went on to say that one of the tendencies of the mind is to focus on the negative and play the same songs over and over again. You guys, that's the definition of worry. Playing the same negative thought over and over in your head. There was another interesting study in which scientists found that 85% of what we worry about never happens. And with the 15% of the worries that did happen, 79% of the subjects discovered that they could either handle the difficulty better than they expected, or that the difficulty taught them a lesson worth learning. That was a lot of numbers, a lot of data there, and I didn't want to put it up on a slide because it's not all that important. I just want you to get the overall feel for the material. But the conclusion is that 97% of our worries are baseless and result from unfounded, pessimistic perception. And if our thoughts have that much power, can you imagine how much power our words have? So we have to be careful about our self-talk, how we talk to ourselves, and how we talk to other people. I'll give you an example of one of the thousands of people I've had the honor of interviewing in my career. This gentleman was coming off of his first layoff in his career, and he was at the director level. And as we were talking, it became really clear that this gentleman was feeling pretty beat up by his layoff. And I was asking him to share his career goals, why he was interested in this position, and the defeat and desperation were just a flashing neon light. He mentioned a few times how hurt he felt by the layoff, and he was looking for a secure position without the thought or the threat of losing his job again. As we all know, nothing lasts forever. And as an HR professional, I cannot guarantee someone's job won't be restructured. I mean, shoot, I can't even guarantee my own position won't be eliminated. So we all know the old saying, the only thing that stays the same is that everything changes. And sometimes being in HR, on that side of the table, I know the long-term goal for a position, and it might be to move it into a different department or some other change that's going to impact this person that I'm talking to today. And I wouldn't want to bring someone on board who would react negatively or take the change personally. It's my job to identify people who are resilient and adaptable. Companies need that on their team. And just think about all of the changes that have happened over the last year, both from the employer and the employee perspective. Resilience is more important to organizations now than ever before. It's always been important, but now they're really looking at how do people overcome adversity, how do you handle change and stress. I'm going to give you another example that is not work related. Have you ever invited someone to join you for a meal at your favorite restaurant, or even just one that you've enjoyed in the past, and you really liked it and you were excited to share this, this restaurant with your friend, and your guest complained about everything? There are seats in the sun, the food isn't hot enough, the drink doesn't have enough alcohol in it, the ice is too cold, you know the drill. And before you know it, your food doesn't taste as good and you're not enjoying yourself. And the other person may not even know they gave off a negative vibe. But as the perceiver in that situation, you can just feel it. And they may have, sprinkled in some other conversation, but you're already feeling kind of yucky from all the negativity about your favorite restaurant. You were excited to bring them there. And as an interviewer, it's very similar. We are the perceiver, and we can pick up on those nuances. It's tone, it's the words a candidate uses, it's inflection. Sometimes it's even what they don't say that sticks out to us. And we can tell if you're not able to shake things off. What I wanted to get across with that is thoughts are things and words are thoughts on steroids. I just really, really want you to remember that. And as I'm kind of standing here and going through stuff in my mind, I think I'm going to go a little bit off course here. I wasn't planning to talk about this, but I feel like someone out there may need to hear it and might benefit from it. So I'm just going to dive in and bear with me. I don't have a slide for it. It's just on my heart, and I feel like I'm just going to talk about it. So it's going to be off the cuff. So one day I was washing my hands, as we all do a lot of these days, thanks to COVID. I'm a big fan of hand washing anyway, guys. I always did it before too. But anyway, so one day I was washing my hands and the water was too hot. When the water's too hot, you have two choices. You can turn down the hot or you can turn up the cold, right? So that day I chose to turn up the cold. And for some reason, I kept thinking about that decision and wondering why I made that decision, because there were two options. You know, why did I turn up the cold? And I know that's totally weird, but I think of things differently, and I always try to think of different situations in different ways. So I thought about it a lot, and it really got me thinking about how that faucet was a microcosm of my life. So what do we do when things get hot? Like work is challenging, your home life is struggling, you just feel like in general you're in a pressure cooker. Oftentimes we inadvertently turn up the heat without even thinking about it. We start to stress and we spend more energy on it than we already need to. We'll work harder. Some of us isolate, or we talk about the problem just constantly, and that's not doing us any favors. So we just keep turning the heat up on ourselves instead of solving the real problem. And from the perspective of a job seeker, I just want to acknowledge that being in transition and looking for a job is hard. It is definitely a pressure cooker. Looking for a position, you're researching the company, you're agonizing over that one little line in the job description or the qualifications. You're wondering, should I just not apply because I don't know if I can do this one bullet point. Are they going to pick up on that and rule me out? You've uploaded your resume and it didn't parse right. And now you have to go through and fill out that ridiculous, long application, and just all of that stuff kind of starts to weigh on you. And so what do most of us do when the job search isn't going well or not the way we wanted to? We turn up the heat and we spend more time and more energy and more focus, and it's all we think about, to the point where we are walking out of a McDonald's and wondering if we should grab an application on the way out. I just want to challenge you here, and long story short, to take this opportunity to turn down the heat and turn up the cold. People say that finding a job is a full-time job, and I disagree. I think it's time for more self-love, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't look for a job. That would be bad advice. I'm just saying set aside a set amount of time that you're going to spend daily looking for a job, or a set number of positions you want to apply for each day, and that's it. Fill the rest of your time doing something you love. Volunteer, garden, read a book, take your kids out for ice cream on a random Tuesday. Whatever it is, make it something that will reduce your stress and allow you to shift into a more positive mindset, because thoughts are things. I think that's all I have to say about that story. But we're going to get back on track now, and I hope it made sense, and I hope someone benefited from the story that I just told. So I'm going to go back to my presentation, show you a little clip of one of my favorite resilience movies, The Pursuit of Happiness. I'm going to pause it here. Sorry, I just wanted to tell you, while you're watching this movie, the whole thing is, or this clip, the whole thing is about resilience. But this one part is my favorite because it touches on the negative thoughts and words. And in this clip, Will Smith is telling his son he probably won't be a very good basketball player. So while you're watching, I want you to notice how the son's demeanor changes when his dad says that to him, and then think about your own negative self-talk and how that might show up and how it has an impact on you. And then I want you to pay attention to the prep talk Will gives his son and how you can apply that to yourself.
Hey. Don't ever let somebody tell you you can't do something. Not even me. All right?
All right.
You got a dream, you got to protect it. People can't do something themselves. They want to tell you you can't do it. You want something, go get it. Period. Let's go.
If you haven't seen that movie or it's been a while, I would encourage you to watch it over the weekend and follow it up with a Rocky movie. There's a ton of great resilience themed movies out there. So I would encourage you to watch them and soak in the positive energy. I didn't necessarily plan to show this one already, but I couldn't let this presentation go by without showing you one of my favorite images. That's a huge part of my belief system when it comes to resilience. It says, a diamond is just a piece of coal that handled stress well. And to that, I'd like to add that all diamonds are valuable. None are flawless. I don't care what your jeweler said about that beautiful engagement ring. A flawless diamond does not exist. We are all flawed. We have all sustained unimaginable pressure, and we are all valuable. So I want you to remember that when you're feeling less than great, that you're a diamond in the making, perfectly imperfect diamond. I want us to go back to the exercise that we did earlier where you wrote down the one thing that you're trying to shake off right now. I didn't forget. So I just want you to take a minute, pull that back out, and write down under that thing that you're trying to shake off, write down 1 to 3 positive things that have come from that event. So even if it's as simple as getting involved with the computer coach community and learning a new skill, having more time with your family, whatever it is, I want you to write down 1 to 3 things that are positive from that event. And I'll give you an example of something from my own life of when a big old pile of dirt was shoveled onto my back a couple of years ago. I was laid off from a job I loved, on a team I loved, with an organization I loved, and I was completely blindsided. I had just gotten back from a vacation. It's actually an amazing life experience of going to India and getting a meditation certification. And my first day back at the office, I was laid off. And I immediately made the decision not to look for a job. I was just going to spend 3 months saying yes to anything other people needed. So I cooked meals, I babysat, taught free yoga classes, and I fostered a senior dog amongst a lot of other things. I think I was busier in those 3 months than I had been the whole time I was working. So that senior dog that we fostered ended up being such a joy in my life. She's actually a joy in everybody's life. The whole family has fallen in love. She's still with us today. I did want to mention, for those of you that were wondering, I did, by the end of my 3-month selfless service project, that's what I called it, someone had reached out to me on LinkedIn completely out of the blue. And that's how I landed my next job. I was not even looking. So everything happens for a reason. Those of you who know me well, I say that a lot, but everything does happen for a reason. So I want you to really focus on those 1 to 3 things that you wrote down that are positive from that event. And that's where you're going to get the energy to move forward. I promised at the beginning of this presentation that you would leave this presentation with some concrete things you can do to build resilience. So here they are. Number 1, elevate your mindset. And we just got finished talking about this. We just did a little exercise. That is the foundation of resilience. So I'm going to challenge you to find the good in everything that happens. And next time, something happens and you're, stuck in traffic, just know that you'll turn up the music and you're just going to channel your inner Taylor Swift and shake it off. And then number 2 is I want you to create a daily schedule. We kind of touched on this as I was talking about my hand washing story. I want you to create a schedule that involves no longer than 4 hours of job seeking per day, whether that's just straight searching or you pick a number of positions that you think you can apply to within a 4-hour window and stick to it. And the rest of the time, I want you to do something that brings you joy and elevates your spirit. So take a class, go for a walk, volunteer, whatever it is that makes your heart happy, do it, because it's going to pay off in spades when you're talking to an interviewer and there's just a peace surrounding you and they know that you're spending this time, doing positive things and you're not just stressing and wallowing. That comes across, and we talked about that earlier. Thoughts are things and words are thoughts on steroids. And the third thing is create and lean on your tribe. So we didn't talk about this yet, but you're already doing it without realizing it just by being here today. So surround yourself with people who will celebrate your successes. They'll tell you when you have opportunities for improvement. Send job postings to each other. Look out for one another. Attend events like this together and discuss them after. And whatever you do, do not go it alone. That is the worst thing that you can do, because being resilient doesn't mean that you don't get sad and you don't get disappointed. It just means that you have the ability to bend and not break. So it makes me think of a freshly planted tree. If you've ever seen a tree that just got planted, and they put those posts around it and kind of tie it up to make sure that it's stable. And your tribe are those posts for you. So rely on them, lean on them. Surround yourself with a really good tribe. And lastly, I'm going to throw in a little bonus here. Remember to live life like someone left the gate open. Don't be afraid of falling into the well. You'll be just fine. And you'll definitely have fun while you're running free.
So Tracey, thank you from myself and behalf of everyone else on the call today. Thank you so much for your valuable insights. Some great takeaways here. I have a page of notes here myself. Super excited to have you, to talk to you. You are always so amazing. So thank you. And thank you for everything that you do. With that, I'm going to give everybody 15 minutes back of their day. So we'll figure out what we can do. Get up and stretch. Get out there.
Go do something you love. Do something you love. Brings you joy.
Self-care, definitely.
Yes. Yep. All right, guys. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
To learn more about our training programs, classes, and what sets us apart, please visit our website at www.computercoach.com.